can't force the market to obey you. You can't bully it. You can't sweet-talk it. And you sure as hell can't beg it to give you what you want. The market is cold, unfeeling, unbothered. And yet, inside every great trader burns a calm fire, a stillness. While the herd panics, they pause. While the screen flashes red, they breathe. Because they've learned the greatest skill of all. Control over the only thing that ever mattered. Their own mind. Let me tell you something right now. Most traders think they lose money because of indicators. Because of timing. Because of some news they didn't catch in time. But the truth? They lost because they lost themselves. They panicked. They chased. They hesitated. They doubted. They reacted instead of responded. And in trading, like in life, when your emotions lead, your account bleeds. But that's not going to be your story, because today, we burn down the lies. Today, you learn how to stay calm when it matters most. Today, you become a master of yourself. Jesse Livermore once said, "The human side of every person is the greatest enemy of the average investor." This man wasn't just a trader. He was a war general with a ticker tape. He made fortunes, lost them, made them again. But what finally broke him wasn't the market. It was his mind. See, Livermore knew how to read the tape. But the chaos inside, that's what pulled him into darkness. He understood too late. The true battleground is not the chart. It's your nerves. And unless you learn to train your nerves like you train your edge, you'll never last long enough to win. So how do you stay calm in the fire? You train like a monk. You move like a sniper. You think like a general. You build a mental fortress no loss can breach. And here's how. First, detach from the outcome. I'll say it again, detach. Most traders grip their trade like it's their identity. They say this has to work. But the more you need it, the more you bleed from it. Because desperation makes noise, and noise clouds judgment. Imagine a professional poker player. They don't weep over one bad hand. They know the game isn't one trade, it's the long run. Same with you. One trade is a raindrop. You are building the ocean. So next time you're in a trade and your heart starts pounding, ask yourself, if this goes wrong, will I still respect myself? If the answer is no, you're trading your self-worth, not the chart. Let go, breathe, play the long game. Second, create rituals, not reactions. The calmest traders don't wing their day. They don't jump into the market like a man jumping into traffic. They have a ritual, a rhythm, a state of mind they enter before they execute. You think Tudor Jones just rolls out of bed and hits buy? No. He centers himself, reviews his plans, checks his biases at the door. He treats the market like a battlefield. And a soldier doesn't charge without discipline. So what's your ritual? A deep breath before every trade? A journal review at market open? Walking away from the screen after 3 losses? Build your system of sanity. Because when your process is strong, your emotions stay silent. Third, build belief stronger than the fear. Fear isn't the enemy. Untrained fear is. Fear shows up because you care. But when it rules you, you lose yourself. Here's what most won't tell you. Even the best traders are scared. But their belief in their process, their edge, their growth is stronger. Think of Richard Dennis. He believed you could train anyone to become a trader. And he proved it with the turtle traders. He gave them rules, gave them mindset. And those rules weren't just strategy. They were anchors for the storm. Because when belief is built on truth, not ego, it calms the soul. You don't fear what you understand. So ask yourself, do I understand my system? Do I trust my process? Or am I gambling and calling it trading? Because belief isn't built in one day. It's built through repetition, reflection, resilience. Brick by brick. Until you know deep down, no storm can shake me. When the market's ripping in both directions, when traders are screaming in forums, when headlines read like apocalypse, that's when the calm rise to the top. Because the real pros, they've seen this movie before. They don't flinch when the lights flicker. They don't change the plan because someone else panicked. They remember what George Soros once said. It's not whether you're right or wrong that's important, but how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. That is emotional neutrality. See, a rookie wants to be right all the time, but a master wants to manage the downside and let the upside handle itself. That's the difference between ego and wisdom. So the next time your trade is going against you and your fingers tremble over the close button, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I following my system? Because if you made the trade from logic, don't exit from fear. Let your calm be louder than the market's chaos. Now listen closely. Fourth, control your environment. You cannot build peace in the middle of noise. You cannot build focus in the middle of distraction. Look around you. Is your workspace a temple or a circus? Because your outer world reflects your inner state. The most successful traders create an environment that protects their mindset. No Twitter, no Discord noise, no phone buzzing with doubt. Just charts, rules, ritual, flow. Jim Rogers traveled the world looking for truth in the markets. But when it came time to trade, he simplified, he filtered the noise. He created his own world of clarity. That's what you need. Silence the world so you can hear your edge. Next, and this one will sting. Accept the pain, but don't become it. You will lose. You will bleed. You will doubt. That's the price of this game. But pain is not your identity, it's your teacher. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. What if you looked at your drawdowns the same way? Every red day, every loss, it's not you. It's feedback. It's data. It's an invitation to grow stronger. But if you cling to pain, if you become the loss, you'll never move forward. Detach, learn, adjust, evolve. Because pain is the tuition you pay for greatness. Now lean in, because here's the truth nobody talks about. You can't master trading until you master stillness. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is power under control. Think of Bruce Lee. When chaos flew around him, he moved only when he had to. Precision, calm, intensity without tension. That's how you must be with your trades. Wait. Watch. Strike with clarity, not emotion. That one skill, to pause when your body says react. That's the $1 million move. Tudor Jones once said, the secret to being successful from a trading perspective is to have an indefatigable and an undying and unquenchable thirst for information and knowledge. But here's what he didn't say. It's not just about knowing more. It's about doing less, better. Stillness lets you see clearly. And clarity is the mother of precision. So stop rushing. Stop overtrading. Stop trying to control what you were never meant to. Let the market move. Let the noise shout. You just breathe. Here's a hard truth. Most people don't fail because they're dumb. They fail because they're undisciplined. They know what to do, but they don't do it when it counts. They promise themselves they won't revenge trade. Then they lose $500 and fire off 5 more trades in rage. They say they'll follow their stop loss. Then price dips and they whisper, maybe it'll come back. But listen to me closely now. Every broken rule is not just a trading mistake. It's a trust fracture. And if you can't trust yourself in small things, you'll never trust yourself in big ones. So write this on your soul. Calm is a byproduct of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, when you follow your plan with military precision, when you don't flinch at loss or boast at gain, you become untouchable. The market may move, but your mind does not. And now we come to the final truth. Trading is not about money, it's about identity. Your results will never exceed your self-image. If deep down, you still believe you're a loser, if you still carry the trauma of failure, if you still think success is for other people, the market will reflect that belief perfectly. Because markets are mirrors. They don't just show your trades, they show you. So here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes, Picture the calmest version of yourself, the disciplined version, the patient one, the confident one. That version of you is real, not a fantasy, not a someday, but a version waiting to be chosen. Every moment you breathe in stillness, every time you obey your rules, every time you rise after a loss with clarity instead of chaos, you feed that version. Until one day, you become it. Not just in trading, but in life. And when that happens, nothing, not the market, not fear, not loss, can ever break you again. So stay calm, stay focused. And remember, the market doesn't care about your feelings, but your future does. Because in the end, your account is just a reflection, a mirror of your patterns, your discipline, your mind under pressure. And here's the final truth no one wants to admit. You do not rise to the level of your hopes. You fall to the level of your habits. The trader who reacts, who checks their phone every 10 seconds, who chases every green candle and flinches at every red, they will always be enslaved by emotion. They'll make a little, lose a lot, and spend years wondering why success feels like sand slipping through their fingers. But the trader who trains their mind, who practices stillness like a martial art, who becomes unshakable in the storm, that trader wins, not by force, not by prediction, but by alignment. Because success in the market doesn't come from fighting it. It comes from becoming still enough to read it, like a whisper only the calm can hear. Now listen, if you've ever slammed your fist on the desk in frustration, if you've ever stared at the screen wondering, why do I always mess this up? If you've ever felt that quiet shame after breaking your own rules again, you are not broken. You are not a failure. You are simply untrained. And training begins now, not with more indicators, not with another YouTube guru. It begins with silence, with the choice to pause instead of react, to walk away when tempted to overtrade, to log the loss but not carry the identity of a loser. Because you can lose a trade and still win the game, but only if you learn, only if you rise, only if you stop seeking peace in the profits and start building peace inside yourself. That's the edge they don't teach. That's the strategy they don't sell. And that's the reason why 95% fail. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they never mastered themselves. So from this moment forward, you draw a line in the sand. No more chasing. No more begging the market to behave. No more attaching your worth to a green candle. You are not here to react. You are here to execute. With clarity. With focus. With presence. Because the calm mind sees what the panicked mind cannot. It sees the trap before it springs. It sees the opportunity before it explodes. It sees truth. And in a world full of noise, that kind of vision is priceless. Now take a deep breath. Feel the silence behind the noise. Feel the stillness beneath the storm. That's where your power lives. That's where the real money is made. That's where you stop being a gambler and start becoming a master. You've been called to more. You feel it, don't you? It's time to rise. It's time to build a mind that cannot be broken, a process that cannot be shaken, a calm that cannot be stolen. And it all starts here, not with your next trade, but with your next thought. Because like Napoleon Hill said, you have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts. This is the most significant and inspiring of all facts known to man. So control them, shape them, direct them like a weapon. Because in the end, he who conquers his emotions conquers the market. Now go, become that trader, and never look back.